Winter darkness arrives without ceremony. There is no announcement, no signal that the day has reached its end. It simply happens. In the late afternoon, while there is still a faint greyness in the sky, the light begins to thin. Not suddenly, not dramatically. The brightness that once rested on the fields and paths quietly loosens its grip, fading a little more with each passing moment. Shadows stretch longer across the frozen ground. In the fields beyond the village, nothing moves now. The soil is hard and pale beneath a skin of frost. Furrows cut weeks ago lie stiff and silent, their work finished until spring. Wooden ploughs rest under lean-to shelters, their iron tips darkened with use and cold. There is no reason to remain outside. Villagers sense the coming dark long before it fully settles. They have lived their entire lives by it. They do not check the sky with concern. They simply notice and begin to adjust. A man walking home from the edge of the village shortens his stride slightly. A woman gathering kindling lifts her bundle and turns back toward the nearest doorway. Children lingering near a fence are called inside with soft voices. The world begins to contract. Paths that felt wide in daylight now feel narrower. Sounds travel less far. Even the air itself seems heavier, as though the cold has thickened it. Doors open and close. Not hurriedly, not with urgency. Wooden hinges creak in familiar ways. Latches fall into place with dull, comforting clicks. A door is pulled tight against the frame, blocking the slow creep of cold air. Inside, the world becomes smaller still. Homes in this village are built for winter. Their walls are thick with packed earth, stone, or timber. Gaps are stuffed with straw and clay. Windows, if there are any, are narrow and covered with oiled cloth or thin horn, letting in little light even during the day. As dusk deepens, these homes rely entirely on fire. The hearth is already lit in most houses. It has been kept alive since morning, fed carefully with small pieces of wood. Firewood is precious in winter. No flame is allowed to grow too large. The fire crackles softly, not loudly, not cheerfully. It simply exists, breathing in gentle rhythms. A log shifts, an ember settles. A faint hiss rises where sap warms inside the wood. This sound is constant. It has always been there. The fire's light does not fill the room. It pools and retreats, reaching only so far before giving way to shadow. Faces are half lit. Hands pass briefly into brightness, then disappear again. The walls catch the glow unevenly. Rough stone and wood absorb the light, dulling it. The ceiling above remains mostly dark, beams lost in shadow. This is not a space meant for seeing clearly. It is a space meant for being. Outside, the last trace of daylight drains from the sky. What remains is not blackness yet, but a deepening blue-grey that settles like a blanket over the village. Snow reflects what little light remains, lending the world a faint cold glow. Footsteps crunch softly along the packed paths one final time. Then, quiet. Snow absorbs sound. Cold stills movement. The village feels wrapped, insulated from the wider world. Inside one home, someone nudges a piece of wood deeper into the hearth with a stick. Sparks lift briefly, then vanish. The fire steadies again. Another household does the same. Across the village, the same small actions repeat. not because they were planned together, but because routine guides them all in the same direction. This is the beginning of the long evening. There is no sense of boredom in this moment, nor excitement. The evening is not something to be filled. It is something to be entered. People settle onto benches worn smooth by generations. Cloaks are loosened. Boots are set near the hearth to dry slowly, never close enough to scorch. Hands warm themselves briefly, then return to laps. Breath slows. The outside world fades from awareness. In these winter months, darkness dominates more than half the day. Villagers do not fight this. They do not resent it. Darkness is simply another condition of life, like rain or wind. The absence of light changes behavior. It encourages stillness. It invites repetition. With less to see, attention turns inward, not toward thoughts or worries, but toward familiar sensations. The warmth of the fire on one side of the body, the cool air lingering on the other, the solid presence of the floor beneath feet. Occasionally, someone rises to tend the fire again, careful not to disturb its balance. Too much wood wastes fuel. Too little risks letting it die. Everything is measured by habit. Time is not tracked in minutes or hours. There are no clocks, no candles marked with lines. The evening will last as long as it lasts. Outside, smoke curls upward from low chimneys, blending into the dim sky. It carries the scent of wood and peat, drifting slowly before dispersing. An owl calls once, far beyond the village boundary. No one reacts. The sound is known. It belongs to this season, to this hour. Inside, the fire continues its steady breathing. The light it casts flickers across familiar objects. A wooden table scarred with years of use. A hanging pot blackened by smoke. A basket resting where it was last set down. Nothing here is decorative. Everything has a purpose. And yet, there is a quiet beauty in the way these objects exist together, shaped by use, by time, by repetition. As the darkness fully settles, the world outside disappears entirely. There are no distant lights, no glowing windows across a valley, no roads illuminated in the distance. The village becomes an island of faint warmth in a vast sea of night. Within these walls, people are not thinking about tomorrow yet. Tomorrow will come when it comes. For now, the only task is to remain warm, fed, and present. The long winter evening stretches ahead, unmarked and unmeasured, and that is enough. The fire shifts again. A spark rises and fades as darkness settles fully outside. Attention turns inward. Not inward toward thoughts or worries, but inward toward the small needs of the body. Hunger arrives gently in winter evenings. It is not sharp or sudden. It is expected. The day has been shorter and work lighter than in summer, but the cold draws energy away. Warm food becomes important, not for pleasure, but for balance. In most homes, supper is already underway. A pot rests over the hearth, suspended from an iron hook or settled among the coals. It has been there for hours, perhaps for much of the day. The contents simmer slowly, barely moving. There is no strict recipe. The stew is made from what remains. Dried beans, soaked since morning. Onions stored in braids from the rafters, roots pulled from a cellar. Perhaps a small piece of salted meat saved for flavor, rather than fullness. The smell is mild and familiar. It does not fill the room dramatically. It lingers quietly. Steam rises in thin threads and disappears into the darkness above. Occasionally, the pot is stirred, not out of concern, but out of habit. A wooden spoon scrapes gently along the bottom. The sound is soft, reassuring. Bread waits nearby. Thick, dense loaves made from rye or barley, baked days ago. The crust is firm now, the interior still nourishing, though no longer light. Bread is cut carefully, never thickly, never wastefully. Each slice is torn rather than bitten, broken with hands that know exactly how much force to apply. Crumbs are caught, saved, brushed into palms. Nothing is discarded. Bowls are simple, wooden, shallow, smoothed by years of use. They are filled slowly, one by one, portions kept modest. No one eats alone if it can be helped. Family members gather close to the hearth, sitting where warmth reaches them most easily. Shoulders brush, knees touch. Cloaks are kept on. The first spoonfuls are taken quietly. The warmth spreads gradually, not only through the body, but through the room. Eating is not rushed. There is no hurry to finish. Conversation, if it occurs, is low and practical. A comment about the weather, a note about supplies, a reminder about something that will need attention tomorrow. Long pauses fall between words. The fire fills the silence easily. Someone blows gently on a spoon before tasting. Someone else pauses mid-bite, listening to a sound from outside that turns out to be nothing at all. Eating is steady, unremarkable, and that is its comfort. The same stew may be eaten again tomorrow, and the day after, each time slightly thicker, slightly changed. No one expects variety. When bowls are emptied, they are wiped clean with bits of bread. The bread absorbs what remains, leaving the bowl bare. Only then is the bread eaten. The pot is moved slightly away from the heat, its contents preserved for later. Nothing is thrown out. After the meal, there is no formal clearing away. The space shifts naturally from eating to resting. Bowls are stacked. Spoons are set aside. A cloth is used to wipe hands and mouths. The fire is adjusted again. A log is turned. A smaller piece of wood added, just enough to keep the heat steady through the evening. These motions are repeated night after night, winter after winter. They are so familiar they require no discussion. Once the meal is finished, the pace of the evening slows further. The body, warmed from within, settles more deeply into stillness. Muscles loosen. Breathing grows heavier. Some people lean back against the wall or bed. Others shift their weight closer to the hearth. This is not laziness. It is conservation. In winter, energy is saved whenever possible. The routines that follow supper are quiet and predictable. A woman reaches for a bundle of mending left near the fire. She does not hurry. She smooths the fabric across her lap, checking seams already examined many times before. A man lifts a tool to inspect it again, though it will not be used until spring. The handle is rubbed with a thumb, checking for cracks. These actions are not strictly necessary tonight, but they are comforting. They anchor the evening. Children remain nearby, watching the adults, sometimes imitating them with small, useless tasks of their own. A child pretends to stir an empty bowl. Another arranges pebbles or scraps of wood into neat lines. No one instructs them. Learning happens by watching, by being present. The firelight flickers across faces, making them appear and disappear. Expressions are soft, eyes half-lidded. The room feels smaller now, not because it has changed, but because attention has narrowed. Outside no longer exists. Winter evenings encourage this narrowing. They turn life inward, reducing the world to what is close, warm, and known. Time passes unnoticed. No one marks how long they have been sitting. There is no sense of waiting for the evening to end. The evening simply is. Occasionally, someone rises to stretch or move closer to the hearth. Boots are nudged farther from the flames. Dampness is chased away slowly. The smell of wool and smoke mingles in the air. It is not unpleasant. It is home. Some households hum quietly while they work. Not a song exactly. More a low, unstructured sound, barely audible. It fades in and out. Others sit in silence entirely. Both are equally normal. Outside, the cold deepens. Frost thickens on window coverings. Snow creaks softly as it settles. Inside, the warmth holds. A cat curls closer to the fire, tucking paws beneath its body. A dog sighs and shifts where it lies near the door. These animals, too, know the rhythm of winter evenings. They do not expect excitement. They expect rest. At some point, someone pours a small amount of warm drink, perhaps watered ale, perhaps a thin herbal infusion. It is shared carefully. No one drinks deeply. The warmth matters more than the taste. Hands wrap around cups briefly, then release them again. As the evening continues, conversation grows even sparser. Not because people are tired of each other, but because nothing needs to be said. This quiet companionship is familiar and safe. Each person knows the shape of the other's presence without looking. Movements are anticipated, sounds are understood. A cough is answered with a pause. A shifting bench with a slight adjustment from another. The fire crackles softly. The light dims, then flares again. The pot settles as it cools. Everything is steady. Eventually, the routines wind down further. The tools being handled are set aside, the mending folded, the bread wrapped and stored. Nothing signals that this phase of the evening is complete. It simply fades. The body grows heavier. The desire to move lessens. Winter teaches patience without instruction. People remain where they are, listening to the fire, feeling the warmth, letting the meal do its work. This is nourishment beyond food. It is the nourishment of repetition, of knowing what comes next, without needing to think about it. The evening continues. As the warmth from the evening meal settles, the need to move does not disappear. It simply changes. Winter evenings are not empty. They are quieter versions of the day. In the limited reach of firelight, only certain kinds of work remain possible. These are tasks that have been practiced so often they no longer require careful watching. Hands know what to do. A bundle of cloth is lifted into a lap. Fingers smooth the fabric automatically, finding weak seams, thin places, small tears that have grown slowly over time. The needle is already threaded. It has been prepared earlier, when the light was better. Now it waits, resting between thumb and forefinger. The first stitch is made without hesitation. The needle slips in and out, guided more by feel than by sight. Each motion is small, controlled, repeated. Thread tightens, fabric draws together, a tear becomes a line. This work does not demand thought. That is why it belongs to the evening. Nearby, another pair of hands turns a shoe over, examining its sole. The leather is stiff from cold, creased where it bends. A loose stitch is found by pressing, not by looking. A tool is picked up. A small awl pushes gently through leather. Thread follows. The hole closes again. There is no rush. If the light fades, the hands will still know where to go. Elsewhere, wool is being worked. A small pile of it rests near the hearth, cleaned earlier, ready to be twisted into thread. Fingers roll the fibers together slowly, feeling for evenness. The motion is constant. Roll, twist, release. A spindle turns, then slows, then turns again. This work has no clear beginning or end. It can be stopped at any moment and resumed later without loss. That makes it ideal. The firelight dances across moving hands, catching briefly on metal, on polished wood, on pale thread. Faces remain calm. There is no conversation required. These tasks have accompanied winter evenings for as long as anyone remembers. They are passed down without explanation, learned through observation rather than instruction. A child watches from nearby, copying the movements with an object that does not matter. A stick becomes a tool. A scrap of cloth becomes something to mend. No one corrects them. The work itself teaches patience. Across the room, a whetstone is drawn from its place near the wall. A blade is tested against a thumb, gently, carefully. The sound of metal on stone joins the quiet rhythm of the evening. Scrape. Pause. Scrape. The blade is not meant to be sharp tonight. Just ready. Just maintained. The motion is slow and deliberate. Each pass is the same as the last. The stone holds the sound softly, never harsh. From time to time, the blade is wiped clean. The stone is dampened slightly. The work continues. These are not tasks chosen because they must be done now. They are chosen because they fit. They fit the light. They fit the temperature. They fit the mood of winter evenings. The body settles into these rhythms easily. Breathing slows to match the movements of the hands. Shoulders lower, jaws unclench. The fire continues its steady breathing. A log shifts slightly, releasing a quiet crack. No one looks up. The sound belongs here. Outside, wind moves faintly along the walls of the house. Snow brushes against the wood. The village sleeps, or is nearly asleep. Inside, the evening remains gently active. There is comfort in this kind of work. It fills time without demanding attention. It produces something useful without urgency. It keeps hands warm and minds still. Thoughts drift if they come at all. They are not followed. A memory surfaces briefly of a past winter, of a similar evening, of someone who once sat in this same place, doing the same work. The thought passes. There is no need to hold it. The needle continues its path. The spindle turns. The blade glides along stone. Sometimes someone pauses, not because they are finished, but because the body asks for stillness. The work rests in a lap. Hands warm themselves near the fire. Eyes close briefly. Then the hands return to their task. There is no schedule governing this, no expectation of productivity. Winter evenings allow for this looseness. They are forgiving. As the hours pass, the fire's light grows softer. The room darkens further at the edges. Work adjusts naturally. Smaller tasks are set aside. Larger, simpler motions take their place. Wool is wound into a loose bundle. Tools are arranged by touch rather than sight. The mending is folded, ready to be put away. Nothing is rushed. Nothing is forced to completion. This work is about continuity, not accomplishment. A shoe repaired tonight may be worn tomorrow, or next week. A thread spun now will be woven later, when days are longer. Everything belongs to a larger rhythm. In one corner, a child has grown very still. The pretend work has stopped. The object in their hands rests forgotten. Their head tilts forward slightly. Breathing deepens. No one wakes them. Sleep arrives quietly in winter evenings, especially for the young. Adults notice, but do not comment. The work continues around the sleeping child without disturbance. At some point, the whetstone is returned to its place. The blade is set aside. The last few stitches are made. A knot is tied. The thread is cut with careful fingers. The finished piece is held briefly, felt, not inspected. Then it is placed with the others. Hands rest again. The fire crackles softly. Shadows lengthen. The evening drifts onward. This kind of work does not end with a sense of completion. It simply slows, then fades. Hands grow still. Tools are set down. Wool is gathered. The room feels heavier now, as if the quiet itself has weight. Breathing deepens all around. The warmth holds. Outside, the night presses gently against the walls, content to wait. Inside, the work that required little light has done its quiet work, not only on cloth and leather, but on the body itself. Muscles are relaxed. Thoughts are few. Stillness grows. The evening moves closer to rest. As the quiet work of the evening slows, the room does not become empty. It becomes open. Hands rest more often now. Tools lie still. The soft sounds of stitching and scraping fade until they are gone. What remains is the fire. Its steady presence fills the space easily. For a time, no one speaks. Silence in winter evenings is not awkward. It is expected. It arrives naturally, like darkness did earlier, without announcement. People sit with it. They listen to the fire breathe. They feel the warmth shift across their legs and hands. They notice small things without focusing on them. A log settles. Ash collapses inward. A spark lifts, then disappears. Eventually, someone speaks. Not to perform, not to capture attention. The voice enters the room gently, as if testing whether it is needed. Often the speaker is an older member of the household, though not always. Age matters less than familiarity. The words are unhurried. They do not begin with a signal or introduction. They simply start. It might be a memory. A winter long ago when snow fell earlier than expected. A year when the river froze solid. A time when supplies ran low, but everyone managed. Details come slowly. The speaker pauses often, not because they are searching for words, but because the story does not require constant movement. Listeners do not interrupt. They are not waiting for a point. They are listening the way one listens to the wind or the fire, not for information, but for presence. The story wanders. It includes small observations. The way the frost looked on the ground that year. The sound of boots on packed snow. The feeling of cold air entering the lungs. Nothing dramatic happens. That is not the flaw. That is the purpose. These stories have been told before, many times, often in nearly the same words. No one complains. Repetition is comforting. The familiar rhythm of known events allows the mind to soften. There is no suspense to hold onto, no surprise to prepare for. Sometimes the speaker forgets a detail. They pause. They shrug slightly. They continue without it. Accuracy is less important than continuity. Another voice may add something, a small correction, a remembered name, a different version of the same moment. There is no argument. Both versions exist together easily. The firelight shifts as someone leans forward, then back again. Faces appear briefly brighter, then recede. A child stirs in their sleep, adjusting where they lie. No one looks over. The story continues. Other evenings, the story is not a memory, but something older. A tale passed down from parents and grandparents before them. A story that has been shaped by many voices over time. It may involve a traveler who came through the village once, or an animal that behaved strangely, or a lesson about patience or caution or kindness. These stories are not told with drama. There are no raised voices, no gestures meant to entertain. The words are offered simply, evenly, like a steady stream. Pauses fall naturally. Silence enters and leaves without disruption. Listeners are free to drift. No one expects full attention. It is understood that some will hear every word, while others will follow only the sound of the voice. Both are acceptable. The story does not build toward a climax. It circles. It revisits details. It lingers on small moments that do not advance anything. This is intentional. Winter evenings are long. Stories are shaped to match them. At times, the storyteller stops entirely. Not because the story is finished, but because the moment feels complete. Silence returns. The fire fills the space again. If the story resumes, it does so gently. If it does not, that is also fine. In some households, multiple stories surface in fragments. One person begins something. Another picks it up later. A third adds a single sentence and then lets it drop. There is no ownership. Stories belong to the room, not to individuals. The warmth of the fire encourages this looseness. As the night deepens, voices grow softer, words stretch further apart. The story becomes less about events and more about sound. The low tone of the voice, the cadence of familiar phrases, the rhythm of pauses. Children who were awake earlier now sleep fully. Their breathing is slow and deep. Their bodies are still. Adults notice, but do not adjust the story to accommodate them. Sleep is part of the evening, not an interruption of it. The storyteller's voice lowers further, as if instinctively matching the stillness of the room. Sentences grow shorter. Descriptions simplify. Details repeat. The same winter, the same snow, the same road. Listeners no longer picture everything clearly. Images blur. This is welcomed. Occasionally, a soft laugh escapes, brief, restrained, almost surprised by its own appearance. It fades quickly. There is no effort to recapture it. Laughter like silence, comes and goes on its own. As the story continues, it may drift into something closer to reflection. A comment about how winters always feel long. A remark about how the village always endures them. An observation about how things change but also remain the same. These thoughts are not developed. They are stated, then released. The fire answers with a crackle. Outside, the night remains quiet and unchanged. The village holds its breath. Inside, the story begins to thin, not because it has ended, but because it has done what it needed to do. It has filled the space gently. It has accompanied the evening. It has provided sound without demand. The voice fades naturally. Words slow. Pauses lengthen. Finally, silence settles fully again. No one feels the need to fill it. The story rests where it ended, without conclusion. The fire continues its steady breathing. The evening moves forward, unmarked. As the evening grows deeper, attention shifts again. Not sharply, not all at once. It drifts. The adults remain where they are, settled near the hearth, their movements slow and economical. The firelight holds steady. Nearby, children occupy the warmest edges of the room. They are not sent away. They are not instructed. They simply remain. Winter evenings belong to everyone. The games children play at this hour are small. They require little space, little energy, and almost no sound. There is no running, no shouting. The room does not allow for it, and the season does not invite it. A child gathers a few smooth stones from a corner where they have been kept. The stones are arranged carefully on the floor, then rearranged again. No goal is announced. The pleasure is in the movement. Another child uses small pieces of wood, offcuts from kindling, to build something that resembles a wall, or perhaps nothing at all. The shape changes slowly as pieces are added, removed, and added again. Each movement is deliberate. There is time. In winter, there is always time. A simple counting game begins, whispered rather than spoken aloud. Numbers pass quietly between children, almost lost beneath the sound of the fire. The game does not matter. What matters is the closeness, the warmth, the shared attention. Children watch the adults without staring. They observe hands moving, tools resting, faces relaxed. This is how they learn what evenings are for. Not for excitement, not for performance, for being together. Sometimes a child hums softly. The sound has no tune, no shape. It rises briefly, then fades. No one comments. The hum becomes part of the room. Children's attention drifts easily at this hour. Their games slow. Pieces are held longer before being placed. Movements become less precise. A stone is turned over and over in small fingers. A piece of wood rests forgotten in a lap. Eyes blink more often. The fire's warmth encourages stillness. It wraps around small bodies, easing them into rest. One child leans against a parent's side. At first, only lightly, then more fully. No one adjusts them. They are allowed to settle where they are. Another child curls up near the hearth, using a folded cloak as a pillow. The floor is hard, but familiar. Warmth makes it acceptable. Their breathing deepens. The quiet games continue around them, but more slowly now. A game ends without acknowledgement. The stones are left where they lie. The wooden pieces remain half-built. Nothing needs to be finished. Children are not told that it is time to sleep. Sleep arrives on its own. This is the rhythm of winter evenings. Darkness and warmth do the work gently, without instruction. Adults notice when a child has drifted fully into sleep. They may shift slightly to make room, or pull a blanket closer. These actions are careful, practiced. They do not disturb. The room grows quieter still. The remaining children play more with their thoughts than with objects now. They watch the fire, tracking the movement of flames, the collapse of glowing embers. Faces soften. Eyes follow light without focus. Occasionally, a child asks a question. It is quiet, simple. What is that sound? Why does the fire change? When will morning come? Answers are brief. There is no need for explanation. It's the wood. It always does. Later, the questions do not press for more. The child accepts the answer, satisfied. Winter evenings are not a time for curiosity that demands resolution. They are a time for accepting what is. A child shifts position, turning toward the warmth. Another sighs in their sleep. No one is concerned. Sleep here is not fragile. It is deep and heavy, anchored by routine. The adults continue to sit, their presence steady. They keep the fire alive, adjusting it slightly as needed. The fire responds quietly. Outside, the night remains still. The village is nearly silent now, each household following a similar rhythm. Children sleeping close to warmth. Adults resting in low light. The evening unfolding slowly, without interruption. Time moves differently here, Dij. Minutes stretch. Moments blend. Children dream. Their dreams are likely simple. Images drawn from the day, from familiar places and faces. There is no reason for them to be otherwise. The firelight flickers across their faces, then moves on. Eventually, all children in the room are asleep. Some lie stretched out on the floor. Others rest against benches or in the arms of adults. No one rushes to move them. They will be carried later, or they will wake and walk themselves, or they will sleep where they are until morning. All are acceptable. This flexibility is part of the winter life. The evening does not enforce rules. It allows rest to arrive naturally. Adults speak even less now, aware of the sleeping children, but not constrained by them. Voices, if used at all, are barely above breath. The fire continues its steady breathing. Shadows soften. The room feels fuller, not emptier, for the sleeping presence of children. Their stillness deepens the calm. The night progresses. As the children sleep and the evening deepens, the village itself begins to rest. Not all at once. Not with a clear signal, rest arrives gradually, spreading outward from each home. Inside the house, the fire remains the central sound. Its quiet crackle sets the rhythm of the room. Everything else seems to move around it. But beyond the walls, the wider world still exists. It is simply quieter now. Snow lies thick across the ground, softening every surface. Paths that carried footsteps earlier are smooth again, as if untouched. Sound does not travel far. The village is wrapped in stillness. From time to time, something breaks the quiet. A door closes somewhere nearby. The sound is muted, dull, as if absorbed by the cold air. The latch settles, then nothing. Farther away, A dog shifts in its sleep. Perhaps it lifts its head briefly, then rests it again. The sound is low and fleeting. In a stable at the edge of the village, a horse stamps once. The sound echoes faintly, then disappears. These noises are familiar. They do not signal danger or disturbance. They are simply signs that life continues, even in rest. Inside the house, people listen without consciously listening. The ears remain open, but the mind does not react. This is the soundscape of winter nights. A distant cough, the soft creak of wood contracting in the cold, the whisper of wind brushing past walls and eaves. None of these sounds demands attention. They come and go, part of a larger quiet. Snow continues to fall lightly outside, though it is difficult to hear. Occasionally, a clump slides from a roof, landing with a soft, muffled thud. No one looks up. The sound carries no urgency. In another house nearby, someone tends their fire one last time for the night. The faintest glow flickers briefly through a narrow window opening, then fades. The village holds. Each household becomes a small island of warmth and light, separated by darkness and snow, yet connected by shared routine. No one feels alone. The sounds of the village at rest are not many, but they are enough. They confirm that everything is as it should be. Inside, the fire has settled into a lower, steadier burn. Embers glow beneath a thin layer of ash. The crackling softens. The room is quiet now, even quieter than before. Breathing becomes more noticeable. The slow rise and fall of chests. The deep, even breaths of sleeping children. The occasional sigh of an adult shifting position. These sounds are close, intimate. They anchor the room. Outside, the night presses gently against the walls. There is no sense of threat in it. The dark is not empty. It is simply unlit. People have lived their entire lives with it. They know its shape and its rhythm. The village was built to endure it. The sounds of the wider world, the forest beyond the fields, the river farther away, are distant now. If they exist at all, they are too faint to notice. Perhaps an owl calls once, somewhere beyond the tree line. The sound is low and brief. It is answered by nothing. The owl does not call again. Inside, no one comments. The sound is known. It belongs to the night. Time continues to pass without marking itself. There are no bells to ring the hour. No voices to announce the late night. Instead, the village relies on its own quiet signals. The fire's embers dim. Bodies grow heavier. The urge to move fades. Occasionally, someone rises to check the door, ensuring it is secure. The movement is slow and careful. The latch is tested. The door holds. The person returns to their place, satisfied. These actions are small, almost ritualistic. They are repeated every night, winter or not. They offer reassurance. The sound of boots on packed earth fades as someone crosses a small yard between house and stable, perhaps to check on animals before sleep. The steps are deliberate. They do not hurry. The animals are calm. They sense the stillness, the deep quiet that signals rest. Inside the stable, straw rustles softly. A breath fogs the air, then settles. The door closes again. Silence returns. The village is now fully at rest. Each sound that arises is brief and isolated, surrounded by long stretches of quiet. This quiet is not empty. It is full of presence. It holds the weight of many lives pausing together. In the house, the fire emits a final soft crackle as a piece of wood collapses inward. A faint glow pulses, then steadies. The room feels warmer for a moment, then cooler again as the fire settles. No one stirs. The sound of breathing remains. The outside world is almost completely still now. Snow continues to insulate, to soften, to quiet. The night feels thick, as though it has substance. Inside, people are aware of the hour not by clocks, but by their bodies. Eyelids feel heavier, muscles relax further, thoughts drift without direction. The sounds of the village at rest fade even more. Eventually, there is nothing left to hear but the fire and breath and the faint whisper of wind. And that is enough. As the village settles into its deepest quiet, the evening turns inward once more. Not toward thought, not toward reflection, but toward habit. In many homes, the close of the day follows patterns so familiar they are almost invisible. These patterns do not demand attention. They exist quietly, like the walls of the house or the weight of winter air. Some families pause now for prayer. Others do not. Both are ordinary. For those who do, prayer is not a separate act, removed from daily life. It is woven into the evening as naturally as tending the fire or closing the door. Hands come together slowly, not tightly, just enough to rest. Heads lower slightly. The words, when spoken, are quiet and unadorned. They are not new. They have been spoken many times before, often in the same order, sometimes with small variations. No one is concerned with precision. The meaning is already understood. The words move through the room gently, barely rising above the sound of breath and embers. They do not ask for attention. They ask only to be present. Some prayers are spoken aloud. Others remain unvoiced, carried silently by familiar rhythms of a thought. There is no urgency in them, no pleading. They acknowledge the day that has passed, the shelter of the house, the warmth of the fire, the presence of those nearby. They do not look far ahead. Tomorrow will arrive when it does. For a moment, the room feels even quieter than before, as if the air itself has grown still to listen. Then the prayer ends, not with a clear finish, simply by stopping. Hands separate, heads lift. Nothing changes. The fire continues its steady breathing. For those who do not pray, the evening still narrows towards stillness in its own way. Some sit quietly, eyes half closed, hands resting in their laps. Others perform small final tasks, straightening a blanket, checking the hearth one last time. These actions serve the same purpose. They signal the end of movement, the turning away from the day. The fire is adjusted carefully now. Ash is drawn over glowing embers, not to extinguish them, but to slow them. The fire will last through the night this way, offering warmth without waste. This action is done with care. Too much ash and the fire may die, too little, and it may burn too quickly. Hands know the balance. The room grows dimmer. Shadows soften, losing their sharp edges. The light becomes more even, more subdued. The house feels ready for rest. In some homes, a small symbol rests near the hearth. A simple cross, a carved figure, a worn object whose meaning is felt more than explained. No one looks at it for long. Its presence is enough. In others, there is nothing of the kind. The stillness remains the same. Winter evenings do not demand uniformity. They accept what is. People shift slightly, finding more comfortable positions. Cloaks are pulled closer. Blankets are arranged. Children remain asleep, undisturbed by the quiet movements around them. Their breathing remains slow and deep. Adults move carefully around them, stepping lightly, aware without being cautious. The room feels heavy now, not with fatigue but with calm. Even thoughts seem to slow, losing their edges. What remains is sensation, the warmth near the fire, the cool air farther from it, the solid feel of the floor beneath feet. Outside, the night presses gently against the walls, unchanged. No new sounds rise from the village. Everything holds. In this hour, there is little difference between waking and sleeping. Eyes close briefly, then open again, or remain closed. The line between rest and awareness blurs. For those still awake, the quiet offers a space where nothing is required. No decisions, no plans, no responses. The day has ended. The night has arrived. This transition is not marked by bells or announcements. It is felt. The final acts of the evening are small and familiar. A blanket is folded, a bench is cleared, a cup is set aside. These gestures are slow and deliberate, as if to avoid disturbing the calm that has settled. No one speaks now. There is no need. The fire glows softly beneath ash. The room breathes. Time moves forward, unmeasured. Eventually, the remaining adults prepare to sleep as well. Beds are simple, straw-filled mattresses laid on low frames or directly on the floor. Wool blankets are heavy and warm. Families sleep close together, sharing warmth, conserving heat. There is no sense of crowding. Closeness is expected. The act of lying down is unhurried. Bodies settle into familiar positions. Blankets are adjusted. A hand rests briefly on another's shoulder, then stills. Breathing slows. The house enters its deepest stillness. Prayer, habit, and routine have done their quiet work. The day has been folded away. Nothing more is needed. As the night deepens, there is nothing left to decide. The village has done all that it needs to do. The fire rests beneath its cover of ash, glowing softly, breathing slowly. It no longer crackles. It hums, almost imperceptibly, a quiet companion rather than a presence that draws attention. The room is dim now, the edges softened completely. Shadows no longer move sharply across the walls. They blend together, forming a gentle darkness that feels settled rather than empty. Bodies lie close together, arranged by habit rather than thought. Children sleep deeply, their small forms relaxed and still. Their breathing is slow and even, rising and falling without interruption. Adults rest near bate, wrapped in wool and quiet. There is no sense of watching the night pass. There is no waiting for morning. Sleep has arrived the same way the darkness did earlier, without ceremony. Eyes close when they are ready, muscles loosen without instruction. The body knows what to do. In winter, sleep comes more easily. The cold outside and the warmth within create a balance that invites rest. The mind has little reason to wander far. Thoughts drift briefly, unfinished tasks, familiar faces, small concerns. But they do not linger. They pass like clouds across a darkened sky. The room holds steady. The air smells faintly of smoke and wood. and wool. It is a comforting scent, unchanged from countless nights before. Each breath carries it in, then releases it again. The house feels solid and quiet, as if rooted to the earth beneath it. Outside, the village lies completely still now. Snow continues to rest where it fell untouched. Paths remain smooth. Roof lines blend into the night. No lights move. No voices rise. The night holds everything gently. Animals sleep in their shelters, bodies pressed into straw, breath fogging faintly in the cold air before settling again. Even the wind seems to pause, moving only when it must. The forest beyond the village stands dark and quiet, its branches still. The world has narrowed to rest. Inside the house, there is no distinction between moments. Time is no longer counted or felt. Sleep deepens. Dreams arrive quietly, if they arrive at all. They are simple, familiar scenes, known places, the comfort of repetition. There are no sharp edges here, no urgency. The body rests in the way it has rested through many winters before. Generations have slept like this, in rooms like this, beneath nights like this one. The rhythm is ancient and unbroken. The fire glows once, faintly brighter, then settles again. No one stirs. Breathing continues, slow and steady. The village sleeps as a single quiet presence. Each home holding its warmth, each life resting within it. Nothing threatens the stillness. Nothing disturbs it. Morning will come when it comes. For now, the night is enough. The darkness is complete, but not heavy. It is gentle. It wraps around the village and holds it in place, allowing everything within it to rest. Sleep continues,